George Washington secretly rotated his enslaved workers out of state because Pennsylvania law granted freedom after 6 months. On Washington's birthday in 1797, his enslaved chef, Hercules, escaped. Washington searched for him for years, but never found him. Some reports say he lived freely in New York, but his exact fate remains unknown. After losing re-election, John Adams rushed to appoint judges before leaving office. These midnight judges were meant to keep his party's influence in government. When Jefferson took office, he refused to recognize some of the appointments. This led to the famous Marbury v. Madison Supreme Court case, which established the power of judicial review. The controversy deepened the divide between Adams and Jefferson's political parties. Newspapers claimed that Thomas Jefferson had children with Sally Hemings, an enslaved woman at Monticello. Opponents used the story to attack him. Hemings once had the chance to claim freedom in France but returned under a private agreement. Jefferson never responded to the accusations, but later DNA tests linked Hemings' descendants to his family. During the War of 1812, British troops burned the White House and Capitol in 1814. James Madison had left the city while his wife, Dolly Madison, saved a famous painting of George Washington. The British dined in the White House before setting it on fire. Many blamed Madison for not preparing Washington's defenses, though U.S. forces later won key battles that helped restore his reputation. In 1820, James Monroe signed the Missouri Compromise, allowing Missouri to enter as a state that permitted forced labor, while Maine entered as a free state. The law tried to keep peace between North and South, but both sides were angered. Monroe privately doubted Congress had the authority to make such a deal, but he signed it anyway. The issue remained controversial for decades. In the 1824 election, no candidate won a majority. So the House of Representatives decided the winner. Speaker Henry Clay backed John Quincy Adams over Andrew Jackson. Then Adams appointed Clay as Secretary of State. Jackson's supporters called this a corrupt bargain, claiming Adams had struck a secret deal. Though Adams denied wrongdoing, the controversy made him unpopular and helped Jackson win the next election. Andrew Jackson's cabinet members refused to associate with Peggy Eaton, the wife of his Secretary of War, due to rumors about her past. Jackson defended her, seeing it as similar to the attacks on his late wife. The drama caused a political crisis, with multiple cabinet resignations. Jackson reorganized his administration, and those who supported Eaton became key figures in his presidency. During the Panic of 1837, a severe financial crisis, Martin Van Buren hosted a lavish White House ball for 1,000 guests, featuring expensive food and wine. Critics saw him as out of touch, while many Americans struggled. Newspapers mocked him as an aristocrat who cared more about luxury than the people. This reputation hurt his popularity and contributed to his defeat in the next election. William Henry Harrison gave a 2-hour speech on a cold, rainy day without a coat or hat. Shortly after, he developed a respiratory illness and became severely sick. He died just 32 days later, making him the first president to not survive his term in office. His sudden passing caused confusion, as the Constitution didn't clearly state if the vice president would fully take over. This event led to a lasting rule. After Harrison's passing, John Tyler became president, but his party refused to accept him as their leader. When he vetoed a bill for a national bank, most of his cabinet resigned in protest. His party, the Whigs, even expelled him while he was still in office. He later tried to annex Texas, but Congress rejected it. He left office as a president without a party. James K. Polk wanted to expand U.S. territory and send troops to a disputed border with Mexico in 1846. A skirmish broke out, and he claimed Mexico started the war, even though some in Congress believed he provoked it on purpose. The U.S. won the war, gaining present-day California and the Southwest, but critics accused Polk of misleading the public and starting a war for land. Zachary Taylor opposed expanding slavery and angered Southern politicians. In July 1850, after eating raw fruit and iced milk, he fell sick and passed away days later. Some suspected poisoning, but no proof existed. In 1991, his body was exhumed, and tests found no sign of foul play. His sudden passing led to Millard Fillmore taking office, who quickly supported pro-slavery policies Taylor had opposed. Millard Fillmore signed the Fugitive Slave Act, forcing northern states to return enslaved people who had escaped. Many Northerners refused to comply, sparking protests and violent confrontations. His decision split his party and made him unpopular with the North. He later ran for president again under a different party, but failed to gain support due to his ties to the law. Franklin Pierce signed the Kansas-Nebraska Act, 1854, letting new territories vote on whether to allow slavery. This repealed the Missouri Compromise and led to violent clashes between pro- and anti-slavery groups in Bleeding, Kansas. Armed mobs burned towns and hundreds lost their lives. Pierce's support for pro-enslavement forces angered many in the North, damaging his reputation and his party. In 1857, the Supreme Court ruled in Dred Scott v. Sanford that Black Americans could never be citizens, and that Congress could not ban enslaving people in territories. James Buchanan privately pressured justices to rule this way before the decision was announced. When this became public, critics accused him of interfering with the court. The ruling worsened tensions between North and South, leading to war. During the Civil War, Abraham Lincoln suspended habeas corpus, allowing the military to arrest people without trial if they were suspected of disloyalty. Thousands, including newspaper editors and politicians, were jailed without charges. The Supreme Court ruled this unconstitutional, but Lincoln ignored the decision. Though done for national security, his action sparked fierce debate over presidential power during wartime. Andrew Johnson clashed with Congress over Reconstruction policies after the Civil War. When he fired Secretary of War Edwin Stanton, without Senate approval, Congress impeached him in 1868. He was the first U.S. president to be impeached. The Senate fell one vote short of removing him from office. Though he stayed in power, the trial weakened his presidency, and he was not reelected. In 1875, it was revealed that government officials had stolen millions of whiskey taxes. Some of Ulysses S. Grant's closest advisors were involved. Though Grant was not personally involved, he protected his personal secretary, who was accused of taking bribes. The scandal damaged Grant's reputation and was one of many corruption cases during his administration, leading to criticism of his leadership. The 1876 election was one of the most controversial in history. Rutherford B. Hayes lost the popular vote but won after a secret deal with Southern Democrats. In exchange for their support, Hayes removed federal troops from the South, effectively ending Reconstruction and allowing discriminatory laws to spread. Many called his presidency illegitimate, referring to him as Rutherford Hayes. James A. Garfield angered political groups by refusing to hand out government jobs as rewards. In 1881, Charles Guiteau, a man who believed he deserved a job, shot Garfield in a train station. He survived the initial attack, but passed away 79 days later because his doctors made his condition worse by using unsanitary tools. Some believed high-ranking politicians wanted him gone. His passing led to reforms in government hiring. Chester A. Arthur was deeply tied to the spoils system, where government jobs were handed out as political rewards. When President James Garfield was assassinated by a man demanding a political job, Arthur faced pressure to reform. Surprisingly, he signed the Pendleton Act, 1883, which created a merit-based system. This angered many of his supporters, who had expected him to keep the spoils system in place. During his first campaign, newspapers claimed that Grover Cleveland fathered a child out of wedlock with a woman named Maria Halpin. The scandal was worsened by reports that Halpin had been placed in an asylum and the child sent to an orphanage. Cleveland admitted paying child support but denied paternity. His opponents chanted, "Ma, ma, where's my pa?" But he still won the presidency. Under Benjamin Harris, Congress spent over $1 billion for the first time in U.S. history. Money was used on Civil War pensions, public projects, and naval expansion. Critics accused his administration of reckless spending, calling it the billion-dollar Congress. The public backlash helped Cleveland defeat him in the next election, making Harrison a one-term president. During his second term, Grover Cleveland developed a cancerous tumor in his mouth. Fearing a financial panic, he secretly had surgery on a yacht in 1893. The operation removed part of his jaw and replaced it with a rubber prosthetic. His illness was kept secret for over 20 years. When rumors spread, officials lied to the press, saying he only had dental work. The truth was confirmed in 1917. In 1898, William McKinley went to war with Spain after the U.S. battleship Maine exploded in Havana Harbor. Though the cause was unclear, newspapers blamed Spain, fueling public outrage. Critics later accused McKinley of rushing into war for economic and political gain. The U.S. won and gained Puerto Rico, Guam, and the Philippines, but the war's true motivations remain debated. Theodore Roosevelt wanted a canal in Panama, but Colombia refused to sell the land. In 1903, he supported a Panamanian rebellion, sending U.S. warships to help rebels declare independence. Soon after, the new government gave the U.S. rights to build the canal. Roosevelt later bragged, "I took the canal zone and let Congress debate." Critics accused him of staging a foreign coup for U.S. interests. William Howard Taft's Secretary of the Interior, Richard Bollinger, was accused of corruptly allowing businesses to profit from public lands. Conservationist Gifford Pinchot, a close ally of Theodore Roosevelt, publicly opposed Bollinger and was fired. The scandal split the Republican Party. Roosevelt, furious at Taft, ran against him in 1912, leading to the victory of Democrat Woodrow Wilson. In 1919, Woodrow Wilson suffered a massive stroke, leaving him unable to govern. His wife, Edith Wilson, secretly controlled White House decisions, screening visitors and signing documents. Many believed she acted as an unelected president for over a year. The public was never told the full truth, and Wilson remained in office until his term ended. This scandal led to new rules about presidential disability. Warren G. Harding's Secretary of the Interior, Albert Fall, took bribes from oil companies in exchange for drilling rights on government land. This became known as the Teapot Dome scandal, one of the worst corruption cases in U.S. history. Fall was convicted and jailed, the first cabinet member to face prison. Harding passed away suddenly in 1923 before the full scandal was exposed. Calvin Coolidge was known for avoiding the press and speaking very little, earning the nickname Silent Cal. Some accused him of hiding from major issues, such as rising stock market speculation and prohibition enforcement failures. His quiet leadership style led to rumors that he was uninterested in governing. Despite this, he remained popular and chose not to run for re-election in 1928. In 1932, thousands of World War I veterans marched on Washington, demanding early pay of their war bonuses. Herbert Hoover ordered the U.S. Army to remove them. Troops, led by General Douglas MacArthur, used tear gas and burned their camps. Images of soldiers attacking veterans shocked the public. The crackdown destroyed Hoover's reputation, contributing to his landslide defeat to Franklin D. Roosevelt in 1932. Franklin D. Roosevelt had polio, leaving him mostly unable to walk. His administration hid the severity of his condition by controlling photos and public appearances. The press agreed not to photograph him in a wheelchair, maintaining the illusion of strength. Most Americans never knew just how disabled he was until after his passing. Despite this, he remained the only U.S. president elected to 4 terms. During the Korean War, General Douglas MacArthur wanted to expand the war into China, despite Harry S. Truman's objections. MacArthur publicly criticized Truman, violating military protocol. In 1951, Truman fired him, sparking outrage. MacArthur returned home to heroes' welcomes, while Truman faced backlash for dismissing a war hero. The controversy hurt Truman's approval ratings, but he defended the decision as necessary for civilian control of the military. Dwight D. Eisenhower's administration secretly overthrew foreign governments to protect U.S. business interests. In 1953, the CIA helped him overthrow Iran's prime minister, replacing him with a pro-Western leader. In 1954, the CIA removed Guatemala's president, protecting U.S. banana companies. These actions remained classified for years, but later revelations damaged U.S. relations in the Middle East and Latin America. Rumors swirled that John F. Kennedy had an affair with actress Marilyn Monroe. She famously sang "Happy Birthday, Mr. President" to him in 1962, fueling speculation. Monroe's sudden passing later that year led to conspiracy theories, with some suspecting Kennedy's administration covered up their relationship. Though no proof was ever found, the rumors remain one of history's most talked about presidential scandals. In 1964, Lyndon B. Johnson used the Gulf of Tonkin incident, an alleged attack on U.S. ships, to justify expanding the Vietnam War. Years later, declassified reports showed the attack was exaggerated or never happened. Johnson misled the public into supporting the war, leading to massive protests. The scandal damaged trust in the government, fueling anti-war movements and eventually leading Johnson to decline re-election in 1968. In 1972, burglars linked to Richard Nixon's campaign were caught spying on Democratic offices at the Watergate complex. A cover-up followed, but investigations revealed secret recordings proving Nixon's involvement. Facing impeachment, Nixon resigned in 1974, becoming the only U.S. president to do so. The scandal shattered public trust in government, leading to new laws on campaign ethics and executive power. 1 month after Nixon resigned, Gerald Ford granted him a full pardon, preventing any prosecution. Many Americans saw this as a corrupt deal. Ford insisted it was to heal the nation, but his approval ratings plummeted. The controversy cost him the 1976 election to Jimmy Carter, making him the only U.S. president never elected as president or vice president. In 1979, Iranian revolutionaries seized 52 American hostages, demanding the U.S. return their ousted leader. Jimmy Carter failed to negotiate their release, and a rescue mission ended in disaster, with helicopters crashing in the desert. The hostages remained captive for 444 days. The crisis dominated the 1980 election, and Carter lost to Ronald Reagan. Hours after Reagan's inauguration, the hostages were suddenly released. In the mid-1980s, Ronald Reagan's administration illegally sold weapons to Iran, then used the money to fund rebels in Nicaragua, despite a congressional ban. When exposed, Reagan denied involvement, but evidence showed his administration violated U.S. law. Several officials were convicted, but Reagan's popularity helped him survive the scandal. The controversy raised questions about presidential accountability and secret government operations. Although the Iran-Contra scandal began under President Reagan, its repercussions affected George H.W. Bush's presidency. As vice president, Bush was aware of the secret arms sales to Iran and the diversion of funds to Nicaraguan rebels, known as Contras. During his presidency, Bush pardoned 6 officials involved in the scandal, including former Defense Secretary Caspar Weinberger. Critics argued these pardons were an attempt to prevent further investigation into the affair, casting a shadow over Bush's commitment to transparency. In 1998, President Bill Clinton faced allegations of an inappropriate relationship with White House intern Monica Lewinsky. Initially denying the affair, Clinton later admitted to it under oath. This led to his impeachment by the House of Representatives on charges of perjury and obstruction of justice. Although the Senate acquitted him, the scandal tarnished his presidency and sparked debates about personal misconduct and public trust. President George W. Bush's administration claimed that Iraq possessed weapons of mass destruction, WMDs, leading to the 2003 invasion. However, no WMDs were found, raising questions about the accuracy and manipulation of intelligence. Critics accused the administration of misleading the public and Congress to justify the war, resulting in prolonged conflict and significant loss of life. Between 2006 and 2011, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, ATF, conducted Operation Fast and Furious, allowing firearm cells to track weapons to Mexican drug cartels. However, the ATF lost track of many weapons, some linked to crimes, including the death of a U.S. Border Patrol agent. The Barack Obama administration faced criticism for oversight failures, leading to a contempt of Congress vote against Attorney General Eric Holder for not providing related documents. In 2019, a whistleblower alleged that President Trump pressured Ukraine's president to investigate political rival Joe Biden and his son Hunter. Accusations claimed Trump withheld military aid to Ukraine to coerce the investigation. This led to his impeachment by the House on charges of abuse of power and obstruction of Congress. The Senate acquitted him, but the incident intensified political divisions and raised concerns about foreign interference in domestic politics. In 2024, President Joe Biden issued a broad pardon to his son, Hunter Biden, absolving him of federal crimes over an 11-year period, including foreign dealings during Biden's vice presidency. Critics argued the pardon aimed to shield the president's involvement in his family's business ventures, leading to accusations of corruption and abuse of power. The controversy drew parallels to past contentious pardons and fueled debates about presidential authority. At the time of recording this, Donald Trump's second term is still ongoing, so I'll leave it to you. What do you think his juiciest scandal is? Or is there nothing to complain about? We'd love to hear what you think. Anyway, thanks for watching the video and making it all the way to the end. I hope you enjoyed it and learned something. See you next time.